My name is Hypatia. I was once the keeper of the flame of knowledge in Alexandria, but that flame was extinguished. It wasn't heretical words that sparked the fire, but ignorance masked as fear, prejudice, and the guise of authority. Now, more than 15 centuries later, I can feel the embers of that same flame creeping through modern streets, infiltrating lecture halls, and flickering deep within data centers. Reason is under attack once again. What is happening? Scientific facts are bowing before emotions. Scholarship is yielding to populism. Algorithms carry an almost religious certainty, and reason is being driven out by the tyrant known as public opinion. The wisdom of the past is on the verge of being burned once more. I once said, there is nothing more frightening than teaching superstition as truth. In the modern era, superstition has taken on a more sophisticated guise, such as the belief that only what one wants to believe is true, the public mindset that experts cannot be trusted, and the reverse elitism that regards complex language as arrogance. This is no longer a crisis of knowledge, it's a crisis of thinking itself. That is why I have returned in this era. What I speak of from ancient times is not nostalgia. Rather, it is for the sake of the future that I must tear through the past to communicate. Where did we go wrong? Was it only my body that was consumed by flames back then? If there is one thing I wish to convey in this video, it is this. Those who burn knowledge have returned, and I wish to speak about how we can stand against them. When I was murdered, they flayed my skin, crushed my bones, and dragged me through the streets. But the most violent weapon wasn't the sword or the stone. It was the crowd that stopped thinking. I'd rather believe what I want than what's right. To doubt is to oppose. Knowledge is a tool of control. These cursed words are not confined to that era alone. Even today, the same flames burn in different forms. Once, it was religious power that ignited them. Now, there's an altar called social media, where the most extreme and simplistic beliefs spread the fastest. Conspiracy theories are just free opinions. Science is the tool of the rulers. Feminism is too aggressive. Climate change is just political propaganda. No matter how unfounded these claims are, they appear truthful amidst empathy. Here lies the defeat of reason. So why are you watching this video? It's because you feel it somewhere inside. Is this really okay? Are we perhaps on the verge of making the same mistake again? I promise you this. Within this dialogue, I will equip you with 3 swords. Firstly, the courage to doubt. It is a necessary weapon not to hurt others, but to avoid deceiving yourself. Secondly, the eye to discern the structure of knowledge. The ability to read the motivations and flow of interests behind the surface facts and voices. And thirdly, the heart unashamed of ignorance. What one should be ashamed of is not the lack of knowledge, but the unwillingness to seek it. With these 3 weapons, you will remain unscathed by the flames. I will share all the ways to silently counter the fires that consume reason within this narrative. This is a battle of knowledge, and you stand at its forefront. In the 21st century, humanity launched space telescopes, rewrote genetic sequences, and calculated quantum fluctuations. It seemed like a triumph of knowledge. Yet, behind that light, the same darkness that existed in ancient times quietly spread. In an era where knowledge is so easily accessible, people's thinking has inexplicably become more shallow, shorter, and fragmented. Information displayed on smartphones amplifies personal preferences and distances differing opinions. Simplicity is hailed as justice, while complexity is frowned upon. Videos are preferred over academic papers, emotions over theories, and relatable stories over truth. People crave the fastest and most pleasing answers, even if they are entirely fictitious. Today, science is underappreciated. There are those who oppose measures against new viruses and voices dismissing climate change reports as political propaganda. Conflicts over belief in evolution and vaccines depict science as if it's just another sect of religion. But here's the truth. Science is not something to be believed in. It is a method defined by questioning, verification, and falsifiability. It stands in direct opposition to faith. Yet people find comfort in a scientific-sounding narrative and quickly succumb to reasoning that suits their convenience. Meanwhile, influencers chasing views and ad revenue wield pseudo-truthful emotions as their weapon. The flood of information created by AI makes it harder to discern what is fact. Politicians are aware of this. They frame the knowledgeable as enemies of the people, refrain from funding academia, and label symbols of reason as outdated and unnecessary. It is a strategic assault aimed at decaying the very foundation that supports knowledge. I witnessed this same scenario unfold in another era. The scent of knowledge that once filled the city of Alexandria gradually turned into the smoke of fanaticism. It wasn't sudden. Bit by bit, reason was dismissed as an inconvenience. Today's society is on a similar slippery slope. The trap of simplification, the oversimplification of good and evil, and the division into us versus them, all these are precursors to the destruction of knowledge. The era in which I lived was the late Roman Empire, in the melting pot of knowledge that was Alexandria. Science, philosophy, religion, and art intricately intertwined, with attempts spiraling to understand the entirety of the world. I was a Neoplatonist. For me, God was neither the God Christians spoke of, nor the gods of Olympus. It was the one behind all things, an infinite principle, an abstract truth. The pursuit of comprehending it was my faith and my philosophy. This one has no form. It cannot be expressed in words or images. Yet through reason, people can contemplate it. I taught my disciples this. Spiritual truth is not about belief. It is about reasoning, discerning, and reaching. My teachings required no religious rituals. Forms of knowledge such as mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy were the ladders to approach the divine. Some of my disciples were Christians. Some were priests of polytheism. But I never demanded the renouncement of their faiths. I only asked that they think with reason. This stance was an unacceptable danger to the fanatics of that time. My ideas threatened their monopoly on faith. They said, "Knowledge is arrogance before God." I replied, "Is it not God who endowed us with reason?" However, that dialogue ended with the sword. My body was torn apart and my ideas were expelled from the city of Alexandria. It was not just the death of one woman, it was the moment when the very freedom to believe in knowledge was burned. Even in this era, the same dynamics are repeating. Faith over reason, narratives over facts, empathy over logic. The difference lies only in the heat of the flame. And because the fire is not visible, the present might be far more frightening. Yet I believe, as I did then and as I do now, even if reason burns, it does not perish. Even if ideas are killed, they will rise again. As long as someone thinks, speaks, and continues them. The world you are in now is overflowing with information. But is there knowledge? Facts flow, but is understanding keeping up? In my time, information existed as well. Stellar movements, numerical rules, philosophers' theoretical writings. Yet, for information to become knowledge, an intermediary is needed, and that is reason. Reason is not just about being clever. It is the genuine sincerity towards knowledge that strives for a true understanding of the world. Applying this thought to the modern world, the first thing to reconsider is simply, what do you believe and why do you believe it? For instance, when you share something on social media, is it factual? Or are you merely selecting a story that conveniently supports your stance? The videos you watch on YouTube, are they verified? Just because they move your emotions doesn't mean they're true. I constantly ask my disciples, who is saying it, why can they say it, and is there any refutation? This is the framework of thought and the stance of knowledge. For you living in today's society, this is not merely an intellectual exercise. It is a weapon of choice. What you buy, who you vote for, and whom you trust. All these are judgments based on information, which is why you must have a standard of knowledge. My philosophy transcends the boundaries of faith and culture, because it questions the attitude of humans facing the world. The starting point of thought is not, I believe, therefore it is right, but it is right, therefore I accept it. However, this can sometimes lead to loneliness. It's easy to shout along with the crowd, but to think deeply and quietly is a solitary endeavor. I was once consumed in that solitude. Yet, I never stopped choosing knowledge. You can do it too. Possess the backbone of logic. Have an eye for inquiry. Do not fear silence, and continue to illuminate your own reason without treading on others' beliefs. This is the practice of contemplation in this era, and the most beautiful application of my philosophy. Here, I'd like to pose a question to you. If the truth were to negate what you love, could you still choose the truth? This was a question I asked my disciples during my time. A Christian youth, a pagan noble, a poet, a mathematician. My lessons often clashed with the values they held dear. Will you still follow the path of reason? I asked. This question is just as relevant today. For instance, when science questions the way of life you believe in, when a trusted philosopher makes a mistake, when facts challenge your victim mentality, at that moment, what will people choose? Comfortable illusions or painful truths? Of course, neither offers a perfect answer. But think about it for a moment. Do your certainties have solid evidence and a structural understanding at their core? Or are you merely swayed by empathic rhetoric? In today's world, everyone can be a critic. Anyone can say, this society is strange. But before saying it's strange, how many have examined its structure? To those who cry, science is dominating, I ask, what does that science mean? Do you know its definition? Do you understand the concept of falsifiability? Can you accurately explain the idea of peer review? What I take issue with is not ignorance itself, but the laziness of not wanting to know. And the arrogance of denying knowledge. Everyone faces dilemmas: emotion and fact, empathy and logic, faith and observation, tradition and evolution. Torn between these, only those who continue to think will create the future. So, right now, I ask you to question yourself. What am I reacting to, and why? Is this truly my will, or am I just part of someone else's narrative? I hope this question will trigger your thinking. The present day is inching infinitely closer to the future I once dreamed of. Quantum computing, AI, genome editing, regenerative medicine, climate engineering. It feels as though we've stepped into the realm of gods compared to the era when we offered prayers to the stars. Yet I must ask, where is this knowledge leading us? Technology is not neutral. Telescopes were created to observe stars, but they are also used in warfare. AI learns, but it learns discrimination as well. Genes help with treatment, but also give rise to eugenic ideas. In essence, technology without reason is like a child with fire. And now, children possess not just fire, but nuclear capabilities. Faced with this reality, we are stunned into silence. In my time, the movement of celestial bodies and the mysteries of numbers were connections to the divine. We sought to become one with the world through knowledge. However, today, the primary goal has become to dominate the world through knowledge. This is a reversal of ideology. At the end of anthropocentrism, technology has begun to surpass ethics. AI anticipates human preferences. This is convenient, but we must question it. Is it my will, or am I simply being driven by AI's predictions? We need to redefine the role of reason once more. It's not about control, it's about the power to choose a direction. Do not stop science. But don't allow the future, which lies beyond science, to be monopolized by anyone's ideology. Here, my philosophy comes into play. Knowledge is a question that goes beyond the self. Returning to this definition, AI and genomes become mere tools. They don't expand human ego, but evolve into spaces that question what humans hold dear. The future is a vessel for knowledge. Will we fill this vessel with fear and desire, or with reason and contemplation? The choice lies in each of our minds. I want to believe in light, not fire, and that light always begins with the quiet flame of reason. In the stillness of night, when the stars shift silently across the sky, I often found myself gazing upwards, giving my thoughts a rest. In the rotation of the celestial sphere, there was an order that required no words. There was a beauty that couldn't be fully explained by equations but could certainly be felt. In that silence, I realized that knowledge resides within quietness. Today, there are too many voices, notifications, comments, opinions, conflicts, reactions. As words flood in, the inner voice gets drowned out. When was the last time you sat quietly with yourself? Reason is nurtured in silence. It deepens through contemplation, not debate. That is why now I wish to offer you a space without words. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, am I truly thinking freely? Is what I believe in something I discovered myself? Or am I merely carrying around answers given by someone else? Don't rush to answer these questions. The answers will gradually emerge from the silence. In Alexandria, at night, there was little noise. The flickering of candlelight illuminated star charts on the walls. In those moments, I realized that the silence of the universe and the inner questions within myself resonated in the same vibration. Therefore, I do not call knowledge a collection of information. Knowledge is the very commitment to face the world. It is honed in silence. Many books were burned, but their hands could not reach the wisdom in silence. The fact that you are receiving these words today signifies that someone, once upon a time, contemplated in silence and passed it on. Now it's your turn. Keep the flame of silence alive. Now let's translate these reflections into daily choices. Reason only holds meaning when it permeates action. What I offer is the practical wisdom that I once shared with my disciples in ancient Alexandria. What I am about to introduce are the 3 principles of wisdom. No matter what situation you find yourself in, by using these 3, wisdom will never betray you. First principle, look at structure, not speed. We live in an era that prizes quick reactions. However, true intelligence is the ability to discern structure. Who is disseminating that information? What is the source of that number? Has the premise of that claim been verified? Refrain from immediate reactions. Develop the habit of stepping back to observe the structure. This will keep you from being swept away by the tides of lies and emotions. Second principle, do not fear opposition. Strengthen your reasoning. Debate is not a battle. Dissent is a mirror for thought. The more uncomfortable you find an opposing opinion, the more it reflects the boundaries of your own knowledge. When someone disagrees with you, see it not as an attack, but as an opportunity for refinement. Like sharpening a sword, your reasoning becomes sharper when clashing with others' reasoning. Third principle, do not shame in admitting ignorance. I have always called those who can say, "I don't know," wise. Today's culture praises those who can provide instant answers, but true sages are those who can hold off. I don't know is the entrance to knowledge. Having the courage to say it becomes the strongest shield, as it is the gate to change. These 3 principles can be applied immediately. Whether watching the news, engaging with social media, debating with others, or most importantly, facing yourself. I did not wield a sword. Yet I sought to navigate the world through equations, logic, and the motion of the stars. Likewise, you find yourself in turbulent information seas aboard the small boat of reason. To ensure your hand does not falter in rowing this boat, keep these 3 principles as your compass. Never let the flame of wisdom die out. Having exhausted my words and layered my logic, I quietly close my eyes. As I take a deep breath to calm the heat of my thoughts, I envision a certain scene. It is the time I cherished most, Alexandria at dawn. The city, not yet awakened, is gently tinged with a golden light. The cobblestones reflect this light, and the shadows of the library slowly retreat. At that moment, I was enveloped in a silence where it seemed the world itself was contemplating something. Reason is a quiet act of harmonizing with the world. I was convinced of this. It is never about domination, nor is it about denial, certainly not about winning. It is about the very will to understand. Now, in this modern age, we have layered too much with the pretense of knowing. Yet the act of knowing always requires a margin. Human beings can never fully comprehend the universe. That sense of limits itself provides the final contour of reason. Fire burns fiercely, but light reaches quietly. Let the reason within you not directly illuminate someone's heart, but simply exist, gently brightening the surroundings. Do not forget this. Armoring everything with logic is not the only way. Embracing the sense of not fully understanding is also an important form of intelligence. It is a gentle wisdom that cannot be replaced by numbers or words. It is like a flower that subtly blooms in the spaces of silence. So now let us try to close our eyes for a moment. Listen to the sound of the wind outside your thoughts, the distant sound of a car, the beating of your own heart. Feel the margin of reason in those sounds. The world is constantly speaking. The question is whether we are ready to listen. Thank you for staying with me through this lengthy dialogue. The fact that you've listened to my words to the end means that the flame of will to protect knowledge is alive within you. What I've been speaking of isn't merely tales of the past. When I was burned in Alexandria, reason died once. But today, by listening to my story, you have brought it back to life. Knowledge can be burned, but it cannot disappear. This is the one truth I've believed in since I lost my physical form. In the small decisions you will face in your daily life, posting on social media, conversing with someone, reacting to news, each will become a crossroads where you either extinguish the flame of knowledge or protect it. So please remember this: reason is not loud, nor is it about making assertions. It is the quiet posture of continually questioning the world, and your stance will illuminate others. When it spreads, no matter how foolish or noisy the era may be, the flame of reason will never die out. Lastly, let us hope for this. May there be more people in this world who are not ashamed of knowledge, not afraid of ignorance, and unafraid of dialogue. Hypatia has begun to speak once more, but now it is your turn to speak. And if you wish to hear more of this rebirth of wisdom, please do not let the light of this channel go out. Now this long journey of reflection has reached a temporary end, yet from here is where the true beginning lies. I am the One, contemplating the essence of the universe, connecting equations and philosophy. But now, revived in this era, I realize the most challenging question is, what do you believe in and what are you trying to protect? Through this video, I'm sure you felt some turmoil within yourself. You might have had moments of nodding in agreement with, "Ah, indeed," and other times when you felt, "But isn't that wrong?" That's perfectly fine. In fact, that's precisely how it should be. Philosophy doesn't begin with consensus. It starts with friction. It is this friction that generates the heat of thought and deepens the inquiry. If you jot down your thoughts in the comments, that is already a new starting point for philosophy. Therefore, I will leave you with 3 questions here. Question 1. Do you remember from whom you first learned the values you believe to be right? Was it your parents, school, society? By exploring these origins, you may realize whether your judgment is being dictated by others. Question 2. What does science mean to you? Is it something to believe in? A tool to use? Or perhaps a wall you have kept your distance from? Confronting this question will determine your relationship with the future. Question 3. How do you face your own not knowing? The courage to remain ignorant, the stance of not being ashamed to defer. These define the contours of your reason. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. It could be a counter-argument to someone. It could be a nod of empathy. Even a single word of, "I don't know," is fine. What's important is to keep opening up questions. In doing so, this video becomes not just content, but a torch of knowledge passed on to someone. As Hypatia, I have once again found my voice. But it is not I who will carry this flame of knowledge into the future. It is you. Please make sure not to let go of it.